What's up guys, welcome back to another video. So yeah, it's another crappy Melbourne weather day. Gonna give the BA a quick wash and head into work and do some service stuff. So let's get this wash underway and we'll catch you at work. Yes, I got the car all bloody beautifully detailed up in the drive-through car wash, so bit of a hive of activity at work today. Just got a motorculture meet tomorrow, so everyone's been washing cars, getting everything ready. Had Evil Hawk up on the dyno yesterday, punched out 1,037 horsepower, I think.
They ask you how you are, and you just have to say that you're fine when you're not really fine, but you just can't get into it because they would never understand.
Record, bitches!
As I said, doing a bloody Land Cruiser clutch and tune. Going to start on all this maintenance on the old abandoned BA and get into it. Righto guys, so this is what we're doing today. So new overflow tank, full coolant flush, trans service kit, oil filter, 7 litres of HPR's finest, new fuel filter, replace this rubber exhaust
Today, Junior!
hanger that we put a hose clamp on the other one. Give a bit of intake manifold cleaner, bit of oil flush as well. Top up the power steering fluid for now. She's just a little bit low from that leak. And it's going to get a new hose eventually, so no point doing a full flush today. Diff oil and trans fluid. So I've got these squeezy bags just because I'll show you how to do it at home, you know, without having 20 litre buckets with pumps and all that sort of stuff. That's why I've sort of done it all this way. The only sort of workshop equipment I've got here is the coolant, but I mean, it's just coolant, anyone can do that. It's pretty simple. And give the windows a good clean. Yeah, so that's it. But you want to chuck your oil flush in your engine, run that for about 10 minutes, get the oil all warmed up. Go for the old long pour. Yep, make a good dick of it. We've got the oil flush working its magic. We're going to run the this 3-bund manifold cleaner and carbon cleaner through the intake while we're doing that. So just pop this crossover pipe off again. I'm not going to bother pulling the throttle body off and giving it a proper clean. Just going to spray it with this for now. So just, you know, put the hose on the can and spray her in increments. Stalls, just these up. Just remembered as well, what I've done is shut the car back off, sprayed about half the can into the inlet manifold just so it can soak into everything. Definitely forgot that step, didn't read the instructions, so let that sit for about 10 minutes or so and then start her up again and spray the rest of the can through with it running. If you've got another helper with someone with you, you can hold the throttle open and it'll burn through it a lot faster. You can just spray the thing flat out. But I'm here on my own, so easy does it. Working pretty good when you give it some handle and out comes all the carbon. Once you're done, chuck your intake pipe back on. Then the garage will look like Wiz Khalifa bloody lives there. So next step, we're going to be doing coolant. So crack the old coolant cap so it'll drain properly. We're just going to be topping up the power steering fluid, so we might as well do that now. Actually, which is looking pretty good. So we might actually just leave that. Yeah, we'll go up and start draining the engine oil and coolant now. Car in the air, just under the old sump plug. Not quite sure why that one's got silicone on it, but we're about to find out. Trick with these, undo them. Just get out of the way quickly, stick that dog up in there, then your oil drains out, and you don't drop the sump plug. And I want to rip your oil filter off. I use one of these style claws with a ratchet. Use a strap, hand, whatever. Oh, just lost my sump plug. Then once that's cracked with the tool, just go ahead, undo the rest of it by hand. Don't panic if it sprays oil everywhere. Let that drain out. On here filming this, I've just noticed someone set that sway bar up soft on that side, stiff on that side, so might change that while we're here. Once all that oil's drained out of that filter, just pull that the rest of the way off. Just get ready to tip it up, like so, and don't get it covered in it, like I just did. Once you get your new filter, crack open your oil, put a little bit of oil on that dog, give it a bit of a splash on the seal, wipe it in, give the old fingy a wipe, filter housing one last wipe, smack that dog on, and you want to do that up till it just touches and then a quarter turn. About that, otherwise you're going up too tight. Once the oil sump plug's tightened up, then we're ready to start on the coolant. So that's your petcock there. Dump that into a different bucket because you want to keep your oil and your coolant separate. You don't want to be chucking out coolant with the oil. I've given this cross member just a quick spritz just to get rid of some more oil that was left over from that power steering leak I had earlier. So obviously, if you've cracked your coolant tank cap, this will flow out better. If you don't crack it, this will glug and carry on. Really annoying. Yuck, that is just slime. There we go, catch it in a separate bucket. I got distracted while that was draining over lunch and forgot that it drips out this side too, so I've done myself a mischief. And yeah, so if you're doing this at home, you want to probably use 2 buckets, one at each side, because she drips out both sides.
That's what she said.
Don't forget to tighten up your petcock after your coolant's finished draining, and then we'll move on to the fuel filter. Right, so fuel filter's another one. These can be freaking tight, so I'm going to spray them with a little bit of Rostov. Probably won't do anything, but I'm going to do it anyway, just for peace of mind. Then I'll show you what spanners you've got to use when you do these. I want to use a decent set of pipe spanners or crow's feet. The filter body is the 19 and the line is 14. If you just use normal spanners or shifter or anything, you're going to absolutely f the nut and you're going to have a bad time. You can get away with like flank drive spanners, that sort of stuff sometimes, but this thing's been sitting for probably 10 years and I'm not going to risk it. I'm going to use my pipe spanners and see how we go. So you're obviously going to want to go one spanner on that way, other spanner on that way, and then bust your knuckles in half. Well, as it turns out, after all that lead up on how tight this is going to be, it was like literally like barely tighter than finger tight. So either we got very lucky for 12 years or someone's changed that and not done that up very tight at all. So both sides were quite loose. So easy done. We'll pull that old filter out and I'll show you the way the new one goes. Before we go throwing on a new one, anyway, you just pull these out like so, get fuel all down your arm. With the new one, you want to make sure your flow direction goes towards the engine. Now, the outside is a little bit dirty, but we're going to shake this out into a clean white rag here and try and avoid splashing from the outside, and we'll see what comes out of the inside of it. One thing I'm noticing more than just the debris is the colour at which this fuel is coming out. It's pretty brown. So this filter actually may be pretty blocked up with dust. So like the dust, not like the speckles of stuff you see, like just actual like dirt dust that's just gonna actually block up this filter a fair bit. New filter is Sakura, cheapo. Doesn't actually have an arrow on it, but you want to copy that welded side towards engine. It does say out on there, pretty easy to miss it. So not really stamped too good, but anyway, you want to match, if there's no arrow, you just want to match the, you know, the manufactured side towards engine. So you want to chuck your new filter back into the holder, line up your hose, fit that side, and start on these threads. They can be a little bit of a pain, so I'm going to need 2 hands for this. You want to do them up as much as you can by hand, and then you get your spanners out and give them a good old tighten. FT is the official torque spec for that. If you don't know what FT, it stands for f***ing tight. Once they're done up FT, we're good to go. Move on to the next bit, which will be dumping the trans fluid and swapping out the filter. If memory serves me correct, when I was doing this on my inspection down in Melbourne at Smooth Drive, I was undoing and having it fall this way, but what you want to actually do is have it fall this way, I think, from memory. Might go back and watch my video and see which way Chris corrected me. Well, yeah, I went back and watched that video, and Chris undid it this way, but I think he undid it this way because that's the way I was already undoing it. So I'm going to undo it this way and see how we go. Fluid seems to be coming out quite nicely that way, so I think we're onto a winner. If you do it the other way, it does stay pulled up and it splashes everywhere. So when you're looking at the car on the hoist, the pan does tip forward further, so pretty sure this is right. Right, all the action's pretty much done. It's tipped right down now, so get these last 3 bolts out, get the pan dropped out, and what I'll then do is I'll just let that sit draining for a while I change the exhaust rubber, and then I'll come back to it and it'll be hopefully dripping a lot less. Giving the pan a quick brake clean. I'll give it a proper clean off camera and just let that sit and drain for probably 10 minutes till it stops dripping. Just makes life a lot easier to reseal it. So anyway, that's had a proper clean now, good brake clean, and rag, wiped all that clutch material or whatever that was still stuck to it, got all that out. Clean the magnets, stick them back in, and we'll swap out the filter. So swapping out this filter is pretty easy. You just want to unhook that metal clasp off there, or the other side, doesn't really matter. Just sits up like that. You flick that off, it falls out of here, sprays it oil everywhere, probably drop it and make a mess. But what you want to also make sure is that if your new filter comes with a new seal, you pull that seal out of there, where that little part goes up into the valve body, into the pump. In my life here to get you, anyway, you basically just flick that off, and that's going to want to fall, so I'm going to put the camera down really quick and grab that with 2 hands. Got that in the bucket without spilling it everywhere because I use 2 hands, and that's that seal you need to watch out for. So you just use your pliers that you had a moment ago, just flick that seal out, and I just pat everything down with a clean rag. Okay, so get yourself your filter, put a little bit of lube on the O-ring just so it goes in easy. Give that a good squish, grab your clamp. Right, so once that clip's fitted, basically if you can't get the clip lined up, it's because your filter needs to twist. You're probably too far that way, so your clip won't fit. Just need to twist it back this way a bit and that clips on real easy. You want that springy part of it to be touching the metal, not in the hole there, obviously. Anyway, back to what I was saying earlier. So I'm going to let that sit for like another few minutes while I do this exhaust rubber. Just let all that last remnants of fluid drip out, so that when we do go put that lower tray on, we're not just battling drips the whole time that keep dripping into under the seal and then just makes a mess to clean up later. So if you remember in my previous video, we stuck a hose clamp on that just to stop it rattling. I've now gone out and bought the new rubber, so that's what it's actually supposed to look like. So we'll I'll get a stand to push this exhaust up higher so I can get this fitted. So we've just got a stand there pushing this exhaust up, which gives us slack in that rubber. We'll slap that one off and the new one on. See if I can do it one-handed. excuse the heavy breathing. The iPhone seems to purely have one microphone attached in your fucking mouth. No, I'm gonna cut that because that is stuck. All right, so take two, just get yourself a Stanley knife and just cut that rubber off. Wiggle the top off if you can. Hook your new rubber in the top and pushed all the way on. So anyway, release your clamp. It's gonna pull tighter. Sit pretty normal. Get rid of your stand and no more rattle still and no more stupid ugly hose clamp. Anyway, back to the trans. Give it one last wipe down. All the way around. And then refit your pan. Doesn't really matter which way. My main tip I can offer here, if you don't want your rubber gasket falling out of the spot, when you put your bolt through, spin it so it threads through the gasket. It doesn't just push the gasket up and misalign it. And then yeah, you just tighten all the bolts one after the other and go around in a circle. Or you can crisscross it like a head gasket, whatever, doesn't really matter. I've never noticed the difference. They're all tight, you give it another brake clean around the edges. It is pretty normal to constantly be getting fluid dripping out of here, like if you missed any when you wiped or anything. Pretty common, don't be too alarmed. Don't pull the pan back off unless you're pretty sure that you've messed the gasket up. You know, you can either f the gasket up and that's why it's leaking, or there's just a bit of oil in between the gasket and the pan, so don't stress too much. So we'll start with just a refill, undo that bung, fill it up till it starts pouring out, and then we'll get the car started later once the oil's in it and everything, and do the level properly. I'll walk you through it later. The reason I've used this type of auto fluid, I mean, I've got 60 litres of Penrite fluid also sitting here next to me in the drum. The reason I've done this is because this is what the best way to do it at home is, because it comes with a nozzle and you just squeeze the bag. You don't have to sit there pumping under the car for hours with a tiny little Tom Thumb pump or anything. Really as simple as that. Hook the funnel to it, squeeze the bag, in goes the fluid. Doesn't get any easier than that. These should be mandatory. One down, 2 and a bit to go. Predicted about 3.5 bags and it's starting to pour out. If you're worried about wastage because you can't get it all out of the bag, you dock these things together from one bag to the other like a bloody Chinese finger trap, and you refill your last bag, and then you don't have any wastage. Next step of our servicing is the diff. So I should have mentioned this with the trans and everything earlier. That's your drain plug, that's your fuel plug. Now you want to open your fuel plug first, because if you open your drain plug and lose all your fluid, you can't get fluid back into it. So what we're going to do first on this thing is bloody spray degreaser all over it and clean it. Then we're going to open our fuel plug, and then we're going to open our drain plug, and we're going to drain all our fluid and then refill it, and it's as simple as that. So while we're here, a quick pro tip: if you want to know what ratio your diff is, it's usually on this sticker. Now what I will tell you, if you spray that with brake clean only, you might be able to read it. If you spray that with brake clean and touch it, you will wipe the writing off it immediately. So if you really want to know what your ratio is, just spray it first and then try and read it. Otherwise you're going to have to count the turns. Also, I always used to get the fuel plug from down there. However, you can actually get to it a lot easier from the top. So if you want to grab yourself, I think it's a 30 or a 32, 28. I don't know, they changed it over the years. It used to be 32s on the old diffs. I think they're 28 or 30 now. Then crack that dog open and go for gold. And we'll capture the beautiful colour that this comes out. It'll be black, because I reckon this has never been changed in the car's life. Yep, disgusting. Full of metal. This diff's pretty noisy. It's an M78 single spinner, so it's lucky it's even getting any new oil. This is literally just for the video pretty much. This whole rear end is going to get swapped out for a 345 LSD out of an XR6 Turbo at some point anyway, so there's no real need to do this, but doing it anyway, it's pretty cheap. Step's optional, but they hold 1.7 litres and I have 2 litres of diff oil. So before I put the drain bung back in, I'll squeeze a little bit in just to flush out what's left of that remaining oil. You don't have to, you know, it gets diluted right down anyway. I've just always done that with diffs, so I'm just going to do it on this one. You can see as that fresher oil comes through, the last of that metallic-y stuff is coming out. Now, these fill bags are really easy to get up into the filler, but a metal hook while you're laying on the ground on jack stands is actually really fucking hard to get up there. So these bags, if you're at home on jack stands, are a bloody godsend. Well, once the fluid starts coming out of the fill plug, chuck the bolt back in and tighten her up and brake clean all your mess and we're done. For now, because we've already drained our coolant, we are just going to remove this overflow bottle and throw it in the bin and fit the new one. So it's literally 3 hose clamps and 2 10mm bolts. Pretty basic stuff. And one clip down here, which you probably can't see. Right there. So I don't really need to show you how to do that. I'm just going to do it. Dimension. Everyone always asks which hose goes where. Right hose goes to the top of the thermostat. Left hose goes to the top of the radiator. So there you go, guys. Final answer. The thing to make note of, this brown sludge that ends up in the cooling system, people always think it's rust. It's generally actually the coolant has boiled or it's spoiled. So it's either really old or it's boiled over. It's gotten too hot and it's actually baked it. That's why that turns brown and sludgy. Realistically, I should be flushing my whole cooling system out. That stuff gets all in the thermostat and everything. I'm not gonna bother. This engine's gonna only live for so long, so just fit in a new tank so it looks a little bit less gross. But this engine's gonna come apart at some point anyway, so I'll fix it all up then. Topped up with about 5 litres of straight coolant, and you're gonna fill the rest with water. So obviously BAs take 6.6 litres of oil. We've got 7 litres of HPR10. 7 litre jug. Even though it's a 10 litre jug, they only really fill it most of the way up. We've got a 5 litre jug with measurements on it, so we can accurately measure our oil, and we'll chuck 6.5 litres in. That's good enough for a baseline. Then we'll start her up, run it through the gears, then lift the car and chuck it back in neutral, lift the car up, then fill up that trans level. So you want to start her up. Takes a second because we changed the fuel filter. Let it run for a sec, make sure the oil light's gone out in the dash. No oil light, we're good. Turn it off and check the oil level. Listen to the turbo spool down. She's definitely seen better days. And looking at that dipstick, about 300 mils low. So the start of the OK and the end of the OK is a litre. About 2/3 of the way up. Run it up, I've run it through the gears a few times between drive, neutral and reverse. I go back to neutral, lift the car. First thing we want to check is make sure our fuel filter's not leaking. So we're good there. Then we want to pull our fill plug back out of our trans and top the level up. When she starts drizzling out again, she's full. Put the cap back in. Bolts all tightened up. Give it the final spray. Clean out this little passage there. Spray all the trans fluid off your exhaust. And that is all buttoned up. Well guys, that pretty much concludes the video. The only thing I didn't get done was I didn't clean my windows, but I mean, we can do that another time, it's not a big deal. Don't need to show anyone how to clean windows with bloody microfiber cloth and some Windex. Anyway, 2 things to note. One, my idle is much better now. It was actually quite a little bit rough after I changed the plugs and put the BKR7Es in and gapped on 0.8. So I was a bit worried that I might need to pull the plugs back out and increase the gap, but it ended up just being, just because that throttle body was just so dirty, I think. And after I cleaned it out today with that 3-bond manifold cleaner, she's bloody idling crisp as. Number 2, time for a Mountain Dew and time to go home. Catch you on the next video. Thanks for watching. See ya.